At Cutest, we put your baby's health and happiness first. We are an online baby boutique based in Nassau. We have searched far and wide to provide you with unique products and exquisite gifts that will please modern parents looking for all natural, safe, and unique alternatives to what can be found locally. Quantities are limited, so don't delay. You've come to the right place. Visit us at cutest.com. We'll be waiting on you.
Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Let's Chat with Tonya Lightbourne. I am your host. I don't need to say my name again, but I'm Tonya Lightbourne. I am pleased to have with me Mrs. Sandena Neely. She is a supermom. She is a born leader, goals, and she is now an author. I'm so happy to have you.
So happy to be here.
Welcome. Welcome to Let's Chat with Tonya Lightbourne. I always think, oh my gosh, I'm actually saying this. Like it's to go from a pandemic to
You're doing the thing.
And so are you, because a lot of things have been birthed out of this pandemic. A lot. And I always tell people, like, it's fine for things not to be birthed out of the pandemic. You could have decided, you know what, I work hard, I'm always doing. The pandemic is it. Now it's time for me to take a step back, relax, think, but not overthink, and just be, right? But you've been doing a lot. And I almost feel like silently, and then all of a sudden it was an emergence of just all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, so it literally took almost 1 year. So, for us, the pandemic began March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And March 1st of 2021, I got up and the evolution was almost complete, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I, had already put my rebranding together.
Yeah.
And I just got a feeling from the Holy Spirit. This is the time to launch forward.
This is it.
And it was literally March 1st of 2021. I posted my new content, my new branding, and I have not stopped since.
Wow.
Yes.
And I want to say that it was very well received, because people, it's amazing though what people see in you that you don't see in yourself. So you may have been along the way during the lockdowns, during whatever was happening. You may have said, today I'm going to write down all of my thoughts. Tomorrow I'm going to contact a photographer. The next day I'm going to find out some rates for printing. The next day I'm going to pen all of my thoughts that I want to put into an ebook someday or a devotional. And then you wake up one day and then you're a seamstress, you kind of sew everything together.
You must have been in my head and in my thoughts, because a lot of the things I was doing over the course of the pandemic, I didn't know why. I didn't have a specific purpose. I just knew that I needed to do it. I had a friend who's a photographer, and he just kept saying, we have to take the photos. And I kept saying, yes, we do. And, it just kept rolling on, and everything fell into place. I did it all at the right time, all the goals that I wrote, because everything I'm doing now, they're not new. Nothing is new. These are things that I would have written for 5 or more years to be able to do. And so, yes, I had a lot of time to sit at home and to stew, or like we would say, marinate.
Yes.
And so the evolution has been an extremely engaging process, self-engaging, and it's also been very cathartic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we jump into your passion and everything else that's, I guess, what people know Sandena to be, let's talk about your family. Tell us a little bit about the kids.
Yes, so I'm a wife and a mom. My husband is a pastor at our church. He's an author as well, so that gave good inspiration.
Yeah.
Yes, Reverend Neely, one of my closest friends. We were all friends from years ago. Yes, and my children, the loves of my life, Reagan and Javon. They'll be so happy to know that Mommy sent them a shout out. They are 17. Reagan is 17. in university.
Look at Sandena. Does she look like she is a 17-year-old? Like, I mean, really?
And Javon is 10. I can't even say little J anymore because
No.
he forbids us to call him little J.
No.
So he's Javon or Big J.
I used to call Layla Little Miss Sunshine.
I remember.
No.
You can't do that anymore.
No.
What's the new name?
I don't even know. Like, we don't even. No.
Yes, and so I have one boy and one girl, and I guess what you call now, I've turned into my mother. I'm a doting mom now.
You become a mom. You become your mother.
How? How did it happen? When did
know.
it happen?
I don't
And when
know.
we were younger, didn't we always say, I'll never be like them?
I'm never gonna do that. I'm never gonna. And then voila.
And look at us. Out
Can
here.
you push the chair and please turn the lights off in the room? You need to wash that. Pick that up off the floor, please. And why do you look like this?
As soon as I walk in the door sometimes and I have to catch myself and
Yeah,
I'm like,
you really do. Just can you let them be while you just come home? You see it, yes. Come back. Just give yourself 10 minutes and then go back and say, hey, what's happening in here?
some days are better than others.
Or you just do it. Yeah, some days are really better than others.
Yes.
Yeah.
I try.
And it's a work in progress.
Yes.
My response for most things is, we're in a pandemic.
That's Reagan's response for everything. And so I'm having to, go with her on the whole pandemic thing.
Mm-hmm,
And then I'm also having to temper that with, okay, yeah, but it's been like 14 months now.
Yeah,
So we have to adjust. Yeah.
And I want to say that we're easing out of it. Numbers are going a little crazy, but I want to say that as long as you stay safe and you're doing what you should do on your end to be responsible, we'll come out unscathed.
I think we're now realizing that this is something that we have to live through.
Yeah.
Because when it first started, we all thought, this is going to be over in a couple months.
Yeah.
We'll do well.
We had
by
no
summer
idea.
we'll be good.
Yeah.
And now it's a whole other year and it's almost summer again. And
It's
here we
almost
are.
Christmas.
It's almost Christmas. Once June is past.
That's it.
Yes.
You might as well start prepping.
Yes.
Yeah, so get your decorations, catch that sale, that pre-Christmas sale, pre-Christmas sale, because, yeah, you might as well start
Yes.
prepping for fall for sure.
Yes.
What has your relationship been like with your own parents?
My relationship with my parents has always been one of extreme love.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that relationship evolve as well. So, as a child, I grew up, I'm a 70s baby who, really grew up in the 80s. I was born in 78. So I was one of those, tiny 80s children. And so we always had this, stern fear of our parents.
For sure.
And yes. And so, that's how we grew up.
I'm your mother, not your friend.
Yes. And I'm not going to be your friend. And now,
And now look at them. They're like our little besties.
voila,
Full circle.
calling me every morning on video,
Hi, Sandena. How are you?
Yes.
How are the kids? But I feel like secretly, they express it as well. Like they are super proud of what you're doing. With them, it was more streamlined. With us, it's streamlined, but with some flair. Like we're always doing something. For example, yes, you have your 9 to 5, but you wrote a book and you did branding shoots and you decided, okay, I'm going to increase my presence on social media and I'm going to enroll Reagan in a leadership academy. Like there's always something going on. So that almost, with the times changing, it's almost like, oh, we got to keep up with them. They doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like subliminally, even though they don't say it, they're so proud of what you've become and they just want to obviously remain a part of it, but they always want to feel like they're in the know.
Right. And so now they've turned from, the parent-child relationship or the parent-kid relationship
Mm-hmm.
that, you have to transition as you get older.
Yeah.
And so whereas, they may have been the parent and you're the small kid who needs, help with everything,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship now evolves to where you're your parent's adult child now. And so that takes a turn, that takes some getting used to
Yeah.
for the parents especially because, sometimes in their eyes they still see you as their kid. Yes. And so we had a few years, where it had to be, some transition.
Yeah.
And we are now at a very, very beautiful place. We are friends.
Yeah.
They are some of my closest confidants. They are my advisors. I even hang out with them, travel
Who
together.
thought? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Like,
But it's lovely. It's wonderful. I completely enjoy it because they're in a different phase of their life as well. They've been empty nesters for years. And so now they have the benefit of time and knowledge and
just to
space.
watch what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to almost be like a guiding light.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Without
Yes.
meddling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no meddling.
No meddling.
Yes.
What is it like raising a boy with confidence versus raising a girl with confidence?
So boys and girls are day and night. Oh boy.
Venus
So-
and Mars.
Yes, literally. So raising a girl with confidence, for me, I find it I guess because I have a lot of confidence, Reagan sees that. And so she's extremely confident. She's shy,
Yeah.
but you can see her confidence ringing through. I remember she was at a seminar and they were saying, making some comments about women or something about girls. And she came up with these feminist views and,
Ooh.
she was on the mic and she would not let her point go. And nobody else was talking or saying anything. And she was very, very confident in who
Wow.
she was. And I just kept sitting there thinking, that's my
goodness.
girl. My Lord.
Right.
All the things that I've taught her, it's coming out.
Yeah.
And so with Javon, it's sort of the same thing, but he's a little different. He has a lot of my husband in him. And so when we look at the difference between them, he is actually not shy. He is
Really?
Yeah, he's very like extroverted.
Yeah.
And I guess people would say more like me. He even imitates me now. Like if I'm throwing a tantrum or something, or I'm saying something, sometimes he's standing behind me like doing all the gestures that I do. But he's also
Wow.
very confident, and I'm extremely blessed to have two confident children.
Yeah.
Confident in their own ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I work really hard to let them know that they have their own voice.
Yeah.
And then they can make their own choices.
Yeah. And raising a teenager and I guess a child, because there's an age difference, 7 years?
Yes.
7 years.
Yes.
What has been the biggest challenge with the age gap?
The biggest challenge with the age gap is, of course, Reagan thinks he's just a little boy and he doesn't want to play with her. And of course, he wants someone, to play with. And so there's that gap between what she wants to do and what he wants her to do.
Right.
And so, they manage it and, she gives and takes. And now she's a university student. So, she has to let him know that she's an upper class woman and, he respects that.
Yeah.
But they meet in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that. And, sometimes when they get into a little tiff and I get between them, they're like, Mommy, it's okay.
We got it.
We good. We good.
We know how to resolve conflicts.
And that time I'm like, I'm like all heated and I'm like, stop it and don't say that and don't do this and and they're like, just bring it in.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, these children telling me to bring it in.
Right. Oh
I'm
my
ready to like
goodness.
part the fight and they're
Right.
like, we're not fighting. This is
Yeah.
this is
We're
how we
just
talk
having
sometimes.
A healthy discussion.
And I'm like, okay. And especially little Jay, he'd be like, you were never like this with your brother? Like, what's happening? You don't get this?
Is that what he says?
I tell you, he has a mouth on him.
Well, so he's more like Mummy.
In some ways, yes.
Is Reagan more like Javon?
Yes. Yes.
So she's very mild-mannered, but when prompted, she can hold her own.
Yes.
That's
Lil J is not
amazing.
gonna let anything get away.
No,
Yes.
you gonna know.
Yes. Very sharp, very
Mhm.
quick-witted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Him.
that's great.
Him. That.
So let's talk a little bit more about you now that the kids are out of the way. So your career has spanned I want to say your law career
Mhm.
spanned about 10, 15 years? Would you say
Just
that?
about 15 years. So I
Yeah.
practiced law for 14 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, I practiced law for 14 years.
Yeah. And you
Mhm.
did corporate law initially.
Yes, I did corporate law. I started out for a small stint at the Office of the Attorney General
Mm-hmm.
as a pupil. And then I transitioned to one of our medium-sized law firms, and I practiced real estate and commercial law, and that was amazing. And then I got the opportunity to serve as an associate counsel at Atlantis, which was one of my dream jobs.
Wow.
And that's where I
And
sort
how
of
old were you then?
When I transitioned,
Yeah.
that would have been in 2013. How old was I? I was a couple
Early
years away
30s?
from, early 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was an amazing time. It was an amazing feat,
Yeah.
to be able to serve in that manner.
Mhm.
It was exhilarating. I got to, work with people like Michael Jordan. I got to work with people like Saul Kersner. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's excellent. And so now you are in, well, you've always been, I feel like, in leadership roles, but I feel like now this is definitely a leadership role because you're working with youth. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So in 2019, I transitioned out of the legal career and I completely loved what I was doing in law. However, I did feel an urge to move and to transition. And so I took up a post with the government of the Bahamas to be a consultant in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, specifically to serve as the head of the Division of Youth.
Okay.
And so that is a divine assignment. That's what I see
Divine.
it as. Yes, literally a divine assignment because as much as I respect vision boards, I have them, I love them. Nothing I'm doing now was on any vision board ever for my life.
Wow.
Ever.
So you just it just felt right. Well, obviously, like, whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's the Holy Spirit, whether you meditate, like whatever it is, gave you felt that
Yes.
it was time to move.
Very similar to how, during the pandemic, I did certain things and all the, puzzle pieces came together. That's how it was. And so
Okay.
I've been involved in youth work for more than 2 decades at every level,
Yeah.
starting out, from serving in our very first youth parliament to being a youth ambassador, traveling for the country, volunteering with the ministry. I've been in and around the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture since 1997.
Wow. So then it was only
This was a full circle moment. And
Yeah.
so October 2019, I started with the ministry, and that has been fabulous.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still there, still working with a team of amazing professionals, and we get to do transformative work.
Yeah. What do you feel like you brought to that ministry?
So what I would have brought to the ministry is a very diverse wealth of knowledge from all of these years, from being a youth in the ministry and now being a decision maker.
Okay.
I'm able to bring, that wealth of knowledge so that I can say, this is what it used to be, this is what it is now, this is where I see us heading,
Yeah.
and these are the moves that we need to make.
Yeah. So
Yes.
because, it's government, which is fine, but I feel like, or some people feel like they're usually just stuck and they're gatekeepers and they don't want things to move forward because they don't want the younger people to come in to quote unquote take over. And so I guess the challenge is, how do you kind of infiltrate that system without making them feel like you're taking over
Right.
or you're trying to take it from them?
And I guess this is where having progressive children come in. Because, in our day, we used to have to ask for permission for everything.
Correct.
Our children, they're not asking for permission
no.
for anything.
No.
And so I carry that same spirit to work with me. Yes, it's government. Yes, they have their own frameworks and everything else. But, we have to be very firm with the transitions that we need to
Yeah.
make, because when working with young people, you have to be very dynamic. You cannot be static.
Yeah.
You have to always be moving and changing and flowing and growing. And so, I always advise our team, our senior leadership team, even though I might give you this advice now, that is subject to change.
That could change in a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have to actually schedule a revisit for the change,
Yeah.
because we have to anticipate it. And even before it happens, we have to have a plan,
Right.
because we know it's going to happen. What we do from one year to the next is always going to change.
For sure.
And we have to be very comfortable with that.
For sure. What do you think is a career versus a calling? Because and I asked that specifically because you had this amazing career where you went to school for law, and in your head, this is what I would be doing. And then you transitioned to, I guess, people weren't even, not that people their opinions matter, but you transition to what people would have not expected, right? And so I'm sure there are people. One of my first guests said people thought she was crazy. She was in banking and she left to pursue her passion, which was like wellness and holistic healing and just all of those things that were pulling her for years, for 8 years. She was in banking for about 16 years. And so she said, she thought about it. Obviously, she spoke with her partner about it and they made a plan. And she said, she just woke up one day and it was time.
Mm-hmm.
So having a career where you've studied and you've prepared and you've taken the exams, etc., and then this other thing is your calling, leadership, working with youth, etc., or whatever it is. What advice would you give for a person who is trying to decipher the difference between the two, and then what they should do
Right.
when that happens?
So first of all, I know that we all drank the Kool-Aid that was being sold
Yeah.
when we were young,
Yeah.
which was you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or this or that. So
Mhm.
we all wanted, as very young people, to fit into one of these molds.
Mhm.
And so, of course, yes, you went to school and then I would have transitioned to working in a law firm and, thriving and all of that. And it was wonderful. A lot of times persons ask, why did you leave? Were you unhappy? And I always remember feeling that I'm not unhappy.
Mhm.
I know that it's time to make a transition. Anytime I feel any type of discomfort
Mhm.
or I feel an uneasiness,
Mhm.
then I explore that. I sit with that.
Yeah.
And so that's the advice that I would give to someone who wants to explore what they term a calling
Yeah.
versus their career.
Right.
Because your career is one thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's very glamorous, but you would find lots of people who are in a career. They seem to be thriving.
Mhm.
They're making good money. People see it as what they do, because a lot of people, even now, people who are watching the show, they may be like, I didn't know that Dina or Sandena was, she's not in law anymore.
Yeah.
And so what I would tell them is to, even when you want to move from that career and you want to move to that calling,
Mhm.
use everything that you employed in that career as a foundation for what you're building for your next, for your calling.
Mhm.
No experience is ever wasted.
Yeah.
Law is a great foundation for me to build on for whatever it is I choose to do. Actually, it sets me up for good success, for great success,
Yeah.
to be able to do many, many things, with the wealth of knowledge that I've been able to collect over the years. And so I'm very, very happy and very proud to have done law. Will I do it again? I don't know. That
Yeah.
remains to be seen.
But you
I
have
don't-
that in your back pocket.
It's in my back pocket.
Yeah.
I have the foundation that I can stand on, that I can
Mhm.
build on,
Yeah.
and who knows what the future holds. But for
Right.
now, the calling,
Yeah.
which is literally what it was like, when I wake up in the morning, when I go to sleep at night, it was all that I thought about, that I
Yeah.
should be doing something different.
Right.
And like I said, I was not unhappy in law. It was
Mhm.
just, I knew that I needed to be making an impact.
Yeah. I know that your parents would have, they support you in whatever that you're doing. But when you told them that you were going to transition out of law to something else, what was the initial reaction?
So I have a part in my book where I say my parents are so supportive that if I announce to them that we'll be going to the mall at midnight to sell ice cream, they would only do two things. They'd say, what time do you need us to be there, and what do you need us to bring?
Wow.
So literally, that's the kind of support they give.
Yeah.
I don't really need, permission from them.
Mhm.
I appreciate their acceptance of what it is that I want to do.
Mhm.
And so there are a segment of people, including my parents, when I said what I was going to do, especially my grandmother, she said, you wanted to do this a long time. And, so when I say it's a full circle moment,
Yeah.
I've always been doing things with the Ministry of Youth. And
Mhm.
people can see how excited and how happy I would be whenever I was called upon to do anything for youth. When I served as the co-chairperson for the National Youth Advisory Council, I would always, be burgeoning with ideas and plans and what we should do next. And then I'd always have to, sort of temper it, because
Yeah.
this is not what I do full time. And I have to
Exactly.
get back to what I'm doing.
I'm,
And I would,
it's funny, I was going to say, meanwhile, you have a whole bunch of law work piled up, and I need to
Waiting.
finish these things.
And like I said, whereas I would have gotten joy from that as well, in the back of my mind, in the front, it was in the back of my mind at first. And then over the years, it came to the front of my mind. And so in 2019, I thought, this is actually possible.
I can do this.
I can do this.
I can actually leave. I don't have to stay.
And the light came on, and I was like, what?
Like, I don't have to stay in this? I went to school for this, and I can change my mind?
I could not believe it myself. Even though I had talked myself through it, I think about a year or two before, I was talking to one of my colleagues in law as well. Yeah. And I remember saying to him, I'm not going to be in law forever, and he was like, girl, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I just...
Because we're stuck here. We here.
It was a knowing, though. Yeah. It was like, I'm not going to be doing this forever. And so I guess I'd been silently coaching myself. Mm-hmm. And so when the time came, I made the leap.
And remind me, when did you make the leap?
October 2019, just before the pandemic.
Wow.
Just before the pandemic.
So you make this transition, and then boom.
So when I got there in October 2019, we were in the throes of National Youth Month. Mm-hmm. And then in November, my team and I sat and we made a 3-year plan.
Okay.
Brand spanking new 3-year plan.
Because this is what you do when you come into the place.
And the plan is still sitting on the shelf. I mean, we've made some things work. Yeah. And so we've dusted off that plan earlier this year. Yeah. And we're pivoting. And we're making it work. We're re-engineering ourselves. That's our theme. We're re-engineering and retooling so that when we can re-emerge out of this pandemic, we're going to be stronger and more resilient.
Yeah, and we're going to get there.
Yes, yes. We must.
It could take a minute.
Yes.
Or longer than a minute. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. Would you say that you are a planner, very OCD, very meticulous? Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm OCD. Mm-hmm. I'm a planner, but I'm not stuck to the plan. I like to have a guide. Mm-hmm. So I need to be very big picture oriented. So I need to know the overall picture, the overall goal. Mm-hmm. How we get there is I'm not like overly stuck to it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a planner. I have a number of, the planner books. We always have different planners for every aspect of our lives. And so I'm more into that now as I'm expanding my brand and, developing more of who I am. Yeah. I'm now a multi-dimensional leader. When I wrote that for the first time, I was like,
okay, look at what we're doing over here.
And I actually embraced it because I can't play small anymore. No. As if I'm not certain who I am, because I'm very clear in my head about who I am. I just need everybody else to be clear.
That's interesting. How do you encourage people to embrace that? So they have these innate qualities. I know I'm good at this. I know I'm good at that. People see that I'm good at this thing. How do I now call myself that? How do I get the confidence to embrace that? Because women are like, we call ourselves a mother because we know we're a mom. We call ourselves, like, we're in charge of the home, whether it's a single parent home or with 2 parents. How do you encourage women to embrace what it is that they're good at and then just put a name to that or a face to that? Even us, because branding, how do you encourage them to put a name or a face to that?
So it's so simple. First of all, we're the CEOs of our lives. Mm-hmm. We're running this show. Yeah. Who else is running it? Nobody. So whether you're running the show as just an individual, as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, whatever it is, you have to segment those parts of your life and determine what the plan is for each of these things. Yeah. And so once you get really, really clear on that, only you need to be clear,
I think that's it. It's just when does that clarity come? Right. Because you pray for these things, and then it's like, okay, well, how do I know when this is the aha moment? Or, you know what I mean?
For me, it was acceptance. And I think that's it for a lot of people. So, imposter syndrome comes.
Oh, yeah, that's a big
lot.
Thing now.
Like, especially like how I have a new book. I keep having to tell myself, I'm an author.
Yeah,
so this is happening.
Yeah.
You wrote the book.
Mhm.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
So own it.
Yes. Owning it, taking ownership, acceptance.
Yeah.
So once you're able to do that,
Mhm.
literally what happened to me with many, many things in my life, even if I wasn't ready, people made me ready.
Mhm.
They pulled me out from whatever cave I was trying to
Yeah.
hide in. And they were like, this is what you are, this is
Yeah.
what we're going to call you, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I had to own and I had to embrace many, many areas of my life.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, okay, this is good. This feels comfortable. And so I don't have to wait for people to pull me anywhere anymore. When I became a coach, I didn't even know what coaching was. People
Now
started
it's a
to
thing.
exactly. People started to follow me, and they called me coach, and so I decided, oh, they're leaning on me for advice. Maybe I should find out what this is all about. I went, I got certified, and then more people came along, and so now it's a thing. I'm a whole coach, and so
A whole coach.
yeah, a whole coach. So
Wow.
I'm now able to pull people out of their caves,
Yeah.
and say, hi,
Mhm.
it's safe.
Yeah.
It's good. You
Come
can come out.
Mhm.
And so I think taking ownership, that's really, really the key. And so
Yeah.
once you can take full ownership,
Yeah.
it's almost like being in the courtroom. It doesn't matter when you're being cross-examined how many times someone asks you something.
Mhm.
The truth is the truth.
Yeah.
And
You can't deny it.
they can ask you it 6 to 10 different ways.
Mhm.
You're still going to say the same
Yeah.
thing.
I'm a coach.
I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And so whether you're a cook, whether you're a baker, a mom, a seamstress, a lawyer, a CEO, whatever it is you are,
Yeah.
you have to own that and you have
Yeah.
to be proud. You have to square your shoulders and you have to say that. I don't care if you have to practice in the mirror. You have to say that to
Yeah.
yourself because you're the person who needs convincing first.
Mhm. Everybody else knew it all along.
Most times, yes.
Yeah. How does the coach, the author, the leader, how do you, like, you have to pour into so many people, how do you make, I guess, replenish what you're putting out?
Right. So energy is super important. And so replenishing is
Mhm.
very, very important because
Yeah.
when you're giving and when you're pouring,
Mm-hmm.
you're being depleted.
Correct.
That's just the natural fact.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to ensure that you are replenished,
Mm-hmm.
you have to take time.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that I learned
Mm-hmm.
very, very seriously and very, very carefully in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I had always thought of myself just as an extrovert. I didn't think I had any introvert qualities.
Yeah.
And then when we had to be locked down and then I had to go out amongst people,
Mm-hmm.
I felt even more, I don't know what it was, but I felt even more like, the energy being drained.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to curate my replenishment
Mm-hmm.
and my self-care even more.
Yeah.
And then I became a little introverted, so I guess I'm now
Like
a
an
hybrid
ambivert, right?
kind of way.
Or is
So
that considered an ambivert?
yes, I
Yeah.
think so. And guess what? I've embraced it.
Yeah.
And so now I have a regularized replenishing. Before I just did it like every now and then,
Right.
or even
Or you would
just
keep
whenever I
going.
felt it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I would keep going. I always knew what self-care was, what it was all about.
Mhm.
And I'm someone who practices a lot of self-care.
Yeah.
But what I've been able to do in the pandemic is to formalize it and to standardize it.
Okay.
And so that came with the organization of all the different things that I do in my life. So I don't, any longer have people just calling on me at random. There are different times, different places, different themes, and different streams
Yeah.
for everything.
Wow. Okay. What is one surprising fact that no one knows about you?
One surprising fact that no one knows about me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a lot of people know that I am madly in love with pecans.
I thought you was gonna say a person like Siobhan.
No, pecans, like I love them very, very much. I have them all the time.
Mhm.
I thought about football, but I think everybody knows I'm madly in love with football
Oh my goodness.
and my team.
Yes.
The blue is not a secret,
Yeah. Right.
I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
Oh.
I think another thing that a lot of people didn't know was that I did snow angels on the star on the middle of the field at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
What?
Yes, ma'am. I have the pictures to prove it.
Guys. Okay.
It is that serious. Yes, I made a trip there several years ago, and I did a VIP guided tour of our stadium. And I went on the field in the middle at the 50-yard line on the star, and I asked the people to take a photo of me doing snow angels on the field.
And what degree weather?
It was April, so it was really nice out.
50
Yeah.
degrees?
About 50. And I had a really, really good time.
The snow angel. Wow.
I don't think a lot of people know that. I don't even think I ever posted anything about that. But that was like one of the highlights of travel for me. And I'll be back to our stadium. Take ownership, remember? We're taking ownership.
Right.
Yes.
What has been your greatest accomplishment?
My greatest accomplishment has to be, I mean, and you know, a lot of moms say this, but
Yeah.
it has to be children.
kids, yeah.
Especially when I was having my first child. I remember being in labor thinking, how do people do this? What is happening? And then I remember thinking in that same moment, yes, a lot of people have done this. You are able to do this. You can do this.
Mhm.
And so being a mom, boy, listen, this is like the greatest job ever. It's the most fantastic job, the most dynamic job, the most stressful job, the most every adjective job ever.
It is, I always tell people, it's the best unpaid job ever.
Ever. But, you know, we do get paid in rewards, like, you know, with them doing well. And there are these little times when you're able to hear their candid conversations.
Mhm. And
And
you're
it-
like,
Clutches
Okay.
pearls.
okay.
Like, they be listening.
Yeah.
They
listen to
learning.
us. Yeah.
Lord. Yes, so, yeah.
Oh boy. All right. And what will you never take for granted again?
Oh, I will never, ever, ever again take for granted being able to hug people.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I miss so much. For so long, I could not even be around my grandmother.
Yeah.
And she's in her 80s, and
Mhm.
she is a hugger.
Yeah.
I learned hugging from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will never take that for granted again. I'm such a big hugger. You see, I came in here today, I couldn't even hug you.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? What is this weirdness
What is
we're
this
living
thing?
in?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you know, there are a lot of things I wouldn't take for granted again, especially like, you know, traveling, all of that. I'll be
Mhm.
fully vaccinated soon
Mm-hmm.
and able to, you know, jump on the plane again
Yeah.
as I wish.
Mm-hmm.
But hugging is very, very big for me.
Yeah.
I'll never, ever take that for granted again because I'm an empath and I feel people and I like to be connected.
Yeah.
And I used to hug everybody. Now we know that's not safe
Yeah,
anymore.
interesting.
What were we doing?
I don't
But-
know.
I'd still do it again.
Yeah, we're gonna get back there.
Please.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, we're done?
Oh, yes, you. Well, unless you want to talk some more.
No. I mean, I didn't know all the time was gone.
The crew is like,
Oh,
what?
gee.
You want more time?
No,
So
it just
the
feel like just a
problem
couple
is,
minutes.
Sandena thinks that we're just hanging out, like we're just here, and we were in the food store and we were catching up, and our food shopping carts are right there, and we have forever.
This was so good.
I know, but we're gonna talk off camera anyway. We always
Yes.
do. Like we always catch up.
The time went.
Yeah. People tell
It
me
always
like
does,
they feel
man.
like we're just, you know, having a conversation. They don't feel after a while they don't even realize that they're on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Mhm.
it's like easy breezy.
Mm-hmm.
We're just catching up, you know. But no, this has been great.
Yes.
I want you to tell people where they can find you
Mm-hmm.
and tell them about your book and where they can find that as well.
Right. So you can find me on all social media platforms,
Mhm,
actually.
mhm.
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter,
Oh, Lord.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
TikTok. I have a 17 and a 10-year-old. I gotta
You
be
have
there.
to be, yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I'm Sandena Neely everywhere, or Sandena O'Neely.
Yeah.
But you can find me there, SANDENA
Mhm.
NEELY.
Yes.
And I'm a new author,
Author.
brand new author
Woo!
of the book Fierce 40,
Yeah.
a 40-day devotional and prayer journal
Yeah.
birthed out of the pandemic.
Mhm.
I led a group between January and February of this year, and I've reduced the journey to writing. We had a 40-day prayer journey,
Okay.
and so this devotional is exciting,
Yeah.
exhilarating. It deepens your prayer life, and so you're going to be able to find it on Amazon Follow my author
Awesome.
page. Yes, I'm on Amazon
Awesome.
too. Follow my
Awesome.
author page on Amazon.
Yeah.
You can also find it soon on my website. That'll be released in 2 weeks. And you can find it on in every bookstore here in our country.
Awesome.
Well,
So you
the
have
main bookstores.
print and digital.
Yes. And the book launch is coming
Wow.
up on
And the
June
book
5th,
launch.
Saturday, June 5th.
That's, well,
2
in
Saturdays
real
from now.
time. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Mhm.
So I think by the time it airs, your book will be officially on shelves. I want
In
to say
Logos, Chapter 1,
that. Mm-hmm.
and Bible Book and Gift Center.
Look at you. Look at the
Yes.
adults we've become. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Thank you
look
so
at us.
much.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
too.
and carving some time out.
I'm so happy for you. So proud of
Thank
you.
you.
This is just fabulous. I have to have more friends like Tonya.
Oh, good Lord. My next step is being author. I'm speaking that.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on the next edition of Let's Chat with Tonya Lightbourne. Take care. Yay. You did so well.
Very
So
good.
composed. Hey guys, you made it to the end of our video. If you'd like to reach out, email us at letschat@tonyawilliamslightbourne.com. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more exciting sessions. Cheers.